3 blockbuster trades for right now. That's what we're going to get into in this video. Boston, Jesus Luzardo is out there. Go get it done. You have the pieces. You have an overwhelming need. If you want to compete in 2024, you have to do this deal that we're going to talk about. Mets, Pete Alonso. This is a controversial one. I know. The Mets fan base, you don't want to trade Pete. But if you are not going to compete, if David Stearns and Steve Cohen are not going to extend Pete, then I think you're forced to move in that direction. Joel Sherman talked about it in the New York Post. We're going to talk about that and the Cubs for Emmanuel Clase as a potential fit here. Bleacher Report had the Cubs as the #1 team ranked for Clase. So we're going to go down that road. We're going to see if we can build a trade that Cubs fans are into, that Guardians fans are into. And yes, we will have the Cubs being more aggressive than the Dodgers for Clase in our trade package. Make sure to comment down below if your team is involved in here. What's your trade package? What do you want back? What's your feeling on the move? And if you are not included in this, if you're a Dodger fan or a Blue Jay fan or a Braves fan or Orioles fan, if you want to be included, comment down below with your trade. We have our 100 comment goal. Also, hit that like if you enjoy your time here, want to support the video, and subscribe if you are new. This is volume 6 of Blockbusters. We're going to get into it right now. Let's start in Boston with Jesus Luzardo and the Red Sox. Take a look at this rotation. Lucas Giolito as the 1 is setting up for a dangerous situation. This team is full of 3s and 4s. For a rotation in the American League East, it's not going to get it done. Now, we're going Boston here because the Orioles, I don't think, want to part with the prospects that everybody wants in return. The Dodgers added Paxton, the Yankees added Stroman. So when I look at those rotations, I figure for now, those teams have less of a need. They're not going to be as motivated to make a trade as Boston might. Now, the value, we're going to be using baseball trade values to try to pull some trades together here. It will be difficult, but we're going to give it our best. $65.4 million value for Jesus Luzardo. Now, that seems high, and it is. One of the reasons is because there's 3 more years of control for Luzardo. You can see you got not only 3 more years of control, but he's cheap. $5.5 million in 2024. Are you kidding me? For the talent that he possesses, he should be making $20 million. So you got years of control and you're saving money. Allows you to go out there and make other moves happen. So let's put together the trade. What's the deal? It's Luzardo and only Luzardo to Boston. No Adolis Garcia and his $12 million for this year and $12 million for the year after. We're not sending money to Boston because, quite frankly, I don't think Craig Breslow and that ownership group wants to take on extra money to get a deal done. They would probably rather add a prospect than take on the $12 million. Let's take a look at what Miami would be getting. Jarren Duran, Tanner Houck, and Nick York, second base prospect, number 8 in the Red Sox organization, a 50 out of 80 prospect. Now, that seems like a lot, right? Because it is. And it's a lot because we had a value that we had to get to that was extreme for Jesus Luzardo. But when you're thinking about Boston and you're thinking about trying to win and trying to compete, I believe there is enough depth in that Red Sox outfield to handle a loss for Duran. Tanner Houck, I believe you can absorb that loss as well. If you're adding Jesus Luzardo, you're taking a back of the rotation arm and turning it into a front of the rotation arm. And Nick York is in the minor leagues. The current situation for Boston in that infield, who knows how much Nick York, how expendable Nick York might actually be with Story and Grissom at the middle infield for what looks like the foreseeable future. How does this trade look when we put it into the baseball trade values machine? We have a $69.4 million value going to Miami, $65.4 in Luzardo going to the Boston Red Sox. So it is a little bit of an overpay. But if word gets out that Luzardo's on the move and all of a sudden here comes Baltimore trying to get a deal done, or here comes any other team, you may need to overpay a little bit. And maybe Miami's front office is obsessed with that Oriole prospect crop and says, we want this, this, and this from Baltimore. And if you want to get him, you're going to have to overpay. There may be multiple scenarios where to get Luzardo, you actually have to overpay on that 65.4. So a little bit of an overpay here gets the job done. Boston fans, would you take that deal? Duran, Houck, and York for Jesus Luzardo. I think some would, some wouldn't. I would love for your comments down below, no matter what side of the fence you fall on. Let's get to the Mets situation with Pete Alonso. Again, I have the Giants as the winning team here. We'll talk about why in just a minute, but first let's talk about why we're even talking about Pete Alonso here in the first place. The New York Post article recently from Joel Sherman. Mets are stuck in complicated Pete Alonso limbo entering his walk year. Went on to discuss a lot of factors here. One of the takeaway bullet points, a strong case could be made to trade Pete Alonso. You have a situation where this team just doesn't look like it's an all-in World Series or bust year. And if it's the final year for Pete Alonso, why is he on the team when you can improve this club for the future if the future is what you're thinking about? And let's say the future is what you're thinking about and you don't want to trade Pete Alonso, then you are obligated to work out an extension. Yes, I understand Scott Boras is his agent, but there have been some quotes out there that would make you believe that Scott Boras is open to getting an extension done. And if Pete wants to be with the New York Mets, Pete will be with the New York Mets. He will tell Scott Boras to get the job done if the offer is fair. Got to get a deal done. And if you're not going to get the deal done, trade him, because maybe, and we'll talk about this at the end of this portion, maybe you trade him now and bring him back in free agency and your team is stronger for it. Let's get some big brain stuff going on here. All right, let's take a look what teams. Again, I picked San Francisco. Fansided had an article, 5 teams that could save Pete Alonso from the Mets limbo. They had Seattle, they had the Giants, the Blue Jays, the Cubs, and the Yankees. All certainly make sense. I'm going to say Seattle, no, because I don't think that $20 million that comes with Pete Alonso is something they can afford. Same thing with the Toronto Blue Jays. The Chicago Cubs don't need to do it because the Chicago Cubs will be a favorite to sign him in free agency next year. And the New York Yankees, I can't see a Yankees-Mets swap under any circumstance taking place. So I get to San Francisco. And I like San Francisco for a couple reasons. Number one, I think San Francisco, they need a star. They need power. We take a look at this lineup. Where's the power? There isn't any. I know you got some guys that can hit 20 home runs. We need a 40-homer bat in this lineup. So we have to go there. And you're going to say, well, what about that park? It might impact his power, and it might impact his power. It might take a 45-homer season down to a 40-homer season. I've looked at Baseball Savant. I understand the power situation. But he's also going to be playing more road games against the Dodgers, against the Rockies, which could maybe offset some of that home power shortage. Again, would not be an outage. It's not going to go from 40 homers to 20 homers. It might cost him a couple. Again, maybe he can make up for it with some of those road games against San Diego and the Dodgers and the Rockies. So we have a need for power. It makes sense for the San Francisco Giants to go out there and get this job done. I also believe that the San Francisco Giants would be at an extreme disadvantage in free agency to sign him. San Francisco's just having trouble bringing free agents in. And I believe that a trade is the way to go here. You see, so that's reason 2. The difficulties that they might have signing him in free agency. And number 3, look at what the Dodgers are doing. You want to compete with the Dodgers in that division, right? You have to do more. This isn't going to get it done. They have to upgrade. This is what gets the job done. So we have identified the reasons why a trade could happen. Now let's build the trade. It's only an $11.2 million value with baseball trade value. So in theory, we could swindle the Mets here, but we're not going to do that. Because when I build these trades, I am trying to think about both sides here. That's why a lot of times you'll find that a certain fan base doesn't want to do the trade that I'm offering because I'm not doing it for that fan base. I'm doing it for the other fan base as well. Anyway, we have an $11.2 million value. That could be Casey Schmidt and we're done if we're going on baseball trade values. But again, not doing that. We're trying to look out for the Mets. We're trying to build the Mets and give them something more than something good in return. So Pete goes to the Giants, going to the Mets. What do the Mets need? When I looked at their prospect, when I looked at their farm system, their prospect ranking, I noticed that we got a couple of pitchers, but they're at that like 8, 9, 10, and that's it. And then it's a bunch of position players. So I'm going to build a package with some pitching prospects that could maybe get inserted into that top 10, maybe elevate that top 10. So let's send Carson Whisenhunt, a left-handed pitcher, the number 4 prospect for the San Francisco Giants, and Mason Black, the number 8 prospect in the Giants organization. Both Whisenhunt and Black are 50 out of 80 prospects. And let's throw in Joey Bart. Maybe the Mets can fix Joey Bart, get him out of San Francisco, have him start at Syracuse next year, try to work something out, have him just go hang out with Francisco Alvarez. And maybe Francisco Alvarez can teach Joey Bart how to hit. I don't know. But let's get Joey Bart out of there. Let's just throw him in this deal. But really, this deal is built around the 2 pitching prospects that would be inserted into that Mets top 10, adding depth to that pitching, the farm system, their prospects from a pitching perspective. What's the trade look like when we go to baseball trade values? 11.4 to the Mets, 11.2 to the Giants. So we build the Giants up. And now here's what this also does, Mets fans. Gives you the opportunity. That's $20 million coming off the books because Whisenhunt, Black, and Bart are making nothing. So that's $20 million that comes off the books. It was rumored, and it seems to be pretty legit, that there was only $10 million left to spend. Now we go to $30 million. Guess what that means? That means this guy. You trade Pete Alonso. You go sign Jorge Soler the next day to a 3-year contract. You have replaced Pete's pop from this year. You have him in the mix for the next 2 years. And again, my other part to this is a 3-step process, guys, is you then go re-sign Pete Alonso in the offseason. So you trade Pete now. It hurts, it stings, it's a stab to the heart. He goes to San Francisco for 1 year, helps the Giants make the playoffs. Then he enters free agency. All the while, the Mets have signed Soler. They re-signed Pete Alonso. And all of a sudden, you got 2 prospects, Pete's back and Jorge Soler. How does it not win? Let's move on. Emmanuel Clase and the Cubs, not the Dodgers. I have done enough on the Dodgers for Emmanuel Clase. We're going to take a break. We're going to focus on the Cubs for a minute. And we're doing that because Bleacher Reports today put out a top 10 landing spots for Emmanuel Clase amid trade rumors. And number 1 were the Chicago Cubs. So I figured, let's go down that road. Let's take a look. Now, I do agree that if you have Emmanuel Clase in this bullpen, it looks a lot better. You have Clase in the 9th, Alzolay in the 8th. I'm starting to like this a little bit better. Now, his value is extremely high. I would argue inflated. 51.4 seems high. I understand he's got a very affordable contract. He is a closer. He's one of the best in the game, but he is a closer. Is it really worth $51.4 million? So it's difficult to get this trade to go through, but we're going to do our best. Again, Cubs are getting Emmanuel Clase. There's really not much from Cleveland we can send with Clase to lower that value. Miles Straw is the piece that has a negative value that you could include, but I think Cleveland, you need him in center field. So we can't really do that. So it's Clase and only Clase to the Cubs. So it's that full $51 million value. How are we going to get there? It's not easy. Christopher Morel, Owen Cassey, the number 5 prospect, an outfielder, and Ben Brown, right-handed pitcher, the number 9 prospect. This trade is crazy. It's absolutely nuts. Cubs fans, if you're still here, if you haven't clicked out yet, I agree with you that this is nuts. I honestly would think that you could probably get this done with Morel or Cassey and Ben Brown, not both of them, because this is the deal that gets us there on baseball trade values. We get 49.8 to the Guardians and 51.4 to the Cubs when we do Clase for Morel, Cassey, and Brown. Seems like a lot. Seems like maybe Owen Cassey's being undervalued. The power is there, and that is what you're looking for if you're Cleveland. In my world, I would think Morel or Cassey with Brown should get this deal done. But again, comment down below. Let me know what you think. And that is how we get Emmanuel Clase closing the door for the Chicago Cubs. Those are my 3 blockbusters that we could do right now. BALLCAP Nation, I am out of here. Thank you guys for coming in. Make sure to hit that like on the way out. Subscribe if you have not yet. Turn those notifications on if you are subbed and haven't done that, so you know when we go live, when deals break, and when big news happens. Thank you guys for coming in. As always, if it's low, let it go. And if it's high, let it fly.